Okay, that's it. All right. So um, today we're going to be talking about proposals and business requirements, and to really cap it up is um, okay. Let me see. I'm going to be sharing my screen in a minute so that we could really talk about this and move on. Just one moment, please. Okay. Um, confirm. Just one moment. It's trying to connect. All right. Confirm if you can see my screen. Uh, all right. That's cool. That's cool. All right. Let's go on. Let's go on. So now UX proposals. Now, what are UX proposals? Yeah, your plan basically for any products outlines the problems, the solution you're thinking about. Basically, an overview of what you're going to deliver. There are reasons for doing this. You want to communicate with your stakeholder on the scope of the project. So many times, stakeholders don't understand what it takes to be a product designer or what the job scope might imply. They have this idea that they could create anything. They come up with, oh, let's build this Twitter for Facebook, let's build Snapchat and Instagram. That's the idea. They don't really have complete understanding of what it needs to. So, in order to get wrapped into some of these things, sometimes you need a proposal, and proposals are also useful for basically freelancers and people that work on their own. So I know you're just starting your UX. Most of you are just starting your UX journey. Some of you have already started. Some of you have jobs already, and a proposal will help you define or negotiate better when you're discussing with your stakeholder. So your stakeholder might think you. I'm sure you would have seen a lot of new jobs, and when they tell you the scope, you know the job is very big. But you see the proposal, you see the stakeholder saying something like, "Okay, I'll give you 50K. I'll give you maybe 100K." It's because he in turn does not understand the level in which the project is, the width of the project. So he's saying things based on his own knowledge. He feels oh, designers can just wrap and move so many things and put things in place. So, but you would now sit with them and define what you will actually be doing. It's when you're doing that you could actually um, get, or the you actually understand what is going on. So I'm going to share this link, this prototype link. It's actually a two-page link, so I don't. It's not really so that you can look at it in case my screen is not displaying it very well. So yeah, I see your question. I'll just share the link. So it's just a two-page link where you can just go and look through. So you can jump in and look through, fit it into your screen. Maybe I'll give you the file link. I just sharply did it. And then I'd also like to know the project you are working on. I know a couple of you will be working on certain projects so that we can use that to define our proposals, and we could move on. So you could write that down. That'll be very important as well. So I know you've been grouped into teams and you have projects. I'd like to know the projects you're working on. Okay, so let's move on while we're getting updates on that. Now, straightforward to the proposal side. Like I said, I explained why you need a proposal. It's basically like you said now to create better products because when you have a proposal, you can easily define a lot of things that you need to streamline workflow. It reduces risks, complications between you and your stakeholder. It also gives you an insight. So it tells you about what you're going to be doing because there are sometimes you might be in a project that you might not have worked on before. In fact, as you proceed in your career, you won't really be doing similar projects. I know a lot of you have done like fintech designs, you've done dashboards, you've done NFT applications, or you can be in a space whereby, okay, who is dragging the file? I need to restrict that. Someone is dragging the file. Let me see. I think I made a mistake here. I'm not supposed to be able to edit. Um, okay. That's a mistake on my part. I'll have to fix that shortly. Okay. I think from here on, I think we're fine. All right. I know a lot of you are eager to learn, but you chill a bit. Okay, let me drag that back so that we don't have any confusions moving on. So right now, yeah, I think is restricted now to only me, as it should. I don't know why I forgot that. So let's move on. When another thing was okay, when to write a proposal. So it basically, is your first meeting. And as you speak, you need to understand. So you'll be holding meetings and pitches, and you have to know, you have to have a comprehensive understanding of the project. So you'll be holding lots of meetings, and idea of this is to have meetings in a very relaxed manner because you need to be able to clear out your plans and ideas to your stakeholder. You don't have that time. So if you come at a time the stakeholder is not in the mood, it might not be your insights or your how will I say this? It might not be your scope that might piss him off. He might not be having a good day. So always fix comfortable hours, book your meetings. These are side tips. You could say, okay, let's have it on Friday in the evening because he's been down for the week. You can say, okay, let's have it in the early mornings of Saturdays, Sunday evenings. You could, if it's virtual, you pick good time slots. If you are going out, like you have a meeting place, it must be a relaxed gathering, somewhere people can sit. So that at that point in time, you are in the mood of sharing ideas. Don't try and fix this kind of meetings in a very because the mood of your stakeholder or whoever is proposing or is giving you the project might have issues with what you say because he doesn't understand the scope. But putting in a relaxed manner, he's more inclined to listen to you and understand what you're doing. So we'll now go over to how to like write your UX proposal. Keep in mind, you might not always do this all the time. This is really for freelancers, people that are just like getting into side projects and you don't know how to like go about talking to your either a stakeholder or your, the sponsor of the project or the owner of the project. You just have to look at various ways to do that. So one thing you have to know is you need to understand the problem and define it. So they come with a lot of theories when they want to say their solution, but you need to have one goal. The goal can multiply into different features, but you need to have one goal. Say, for instance, if you look at Facebook had one goal. Facebook was just a platform created for people to meet their old friends, old pals, mingle with anyone. It had one goal. It has morphed into a big application, but if you notice, it still maintains that primary goal. Whatever they bring in on Facebook, it does not take away the fact that Facebook is where you go and meet your old folks, your friends from school, university, anything. That's a goal. Twitter is the same thing. Twitter has one goal. Twitter came up with the plan that, okay, Facebook have mingling with your friends and relatives and close ones, but we in Twitter, you don't need to mingle with anyone. Just drop your tweets, check trends, and do that. No matter what they put on Twitter, spaces and all, it doesn't take away the primary goal. If you see, they've added a lot of things, but the primary goal of Twitter is always the same. So your goals in your project should not be like too complex. It shouldn't be too many. You should have one goal. So when you're talking with your stakeholder, you said, okay, what are we trying to build here? Let me give you an example of defining goals. Let me open one of my case studies, and I'll show you something about goals and how it expands to different projects. So I'll be swapping from screens to see to explain a lot of theories. I'm coming. Let me see. Okay, mobile banking app and an e-commerce app. Okay, mobile banking app and e-commerce. Someone can't hear me. Okay, please confirm if you can hear me. I don't know. Um, Deji, raising up your hand. Let me see. Can I unmute you to hear you?
Oh, I
Okay.
can hear you. I was trying to say that I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. Okay. All right. All right. All right. I've shared the link on the for the Figma this thing. David, you can check to the trail. I don't know if you're just joining, but I've shared it in the Figma trail. So moving on, like let me show you how setting up different a goal. So this platform we're building on one bank application. It's a platform that will help, like say, using family and friends as guarantors for loan. Now that's what the feature is. We have a feature called Family and Friends Community, which we're building. But when we had our discussion, this was their goal, as I've highlighted here, is to enable customers to use the Family and Friends guarantor, thereby improving our customer acquisition and getting clean data from customers. Now, how do we do this? Is an app whereby you can add your family and friends. It's a feature whereby you can add your family and friends, and you can send gift packs, you can transfer to them with less what do I call it, less fees, less tax. It's that family and friends specialty. But an idea came up and they said, okay, you know what, let's make them have the ability to take loans. So what will that help? So each person is accounted to like 10K. But what's going to happen is, for you to use the family and friends, you need, okay, let me just even read it. I think it's here. So it enables us build this and do that. Now, the bank hopes to improve customer acquisition and collection of clean data to use fine. So eligible customers are tier 3 accounts, verified accounts with verified residential address. So you can see we're not just using anybody. The goal is to get people who have verified accounts. So if you had a wallet account, for you to use this feature, you might need to upgrade to a verified account because of the packages we put in place, thereby giving us clean data. When people open wallet accounts, most of them may not use their actual details. They might just tweak things a little bit. But when you now want to use this feature, you need to use a BVN. So it's a psych. It's like we're offering you this, but give us this. Then when you come on board and you use the platform, you're able to take loans. What do? You start referring. You start telling everybody, oh yeah, come on one bank. Start joining our family and friends. You try making it so that it can enable all of you take huge amount of loans. But though we capped it at 100K to 500K, meaning you only need a minimum of 10 members in your family and friends community and a maximum of 50 members in your family and friends community, how it may be. So that way, we imagine if one client is bringing us 50 customers. Now, I think what will happen with the number of clients, if we have 1,000, as 1,000, and that's 1,000 times 10 to 50. You can see how we'll start multiplying, getting clean there. We'll be making those that have wallet accounts to upgrade to their pro account or premium account. At the same time, with the referral scope, we'll be getting more people using the account. So that's the goal for the bank. But in essence, that's not what the users will achieve. So you can see how defining the goal can really help you in getting out of this. As we prolong, we would look at different examples and um, we'll move on. Hope everyone understands this so far? A few thumbs up will help me know whether you're following. So I need to know whether you're following. I like an interactive session, but I think you guys have been muted, and I think I'll need to activate it if I need to hear someone. Adedeji, your hand is still up, so I don't know whether you have a question or you can remove that. I'll just say, all right, that's fine. Okay, moving on. Let's go back to defining our problem. Like I said, define your goal. It's very important. And how do you do that? You would do have interviews, you have observe events. So they'll tell you about certain things like, okay, now let's use your case studies as this thing. You are building a mobile banking application and an e-commerce application. So what is it that you're building? Why are we building this application? There are many banking applications on the planet. What will make people just move to do use your own mobile banking application? You can get that. You can use your onboarding phase as a way. So you need to define why are we doing this? What are we marketing? What are we selling? That's the idea. Now you will have to like have a list of you have to go have like a list of background information. That's why we are going through this. And you need to know, okay, why, what happened, what led to this mobile banking. So we at let me give you an example of one mobile app we worked on. So they said the app, it was a corporate app. They said it was too hard to use. But let me use a loan app that we're working on. He said the journey to onboard on the app is hard because we need RMs. I don't know if people know what RMs. RMs are relationship managers. So basically, RMs usually go out to get customers for us in order for them to take loans. So they are like what they call agents. Let's say we say football manager. They're like agents. You know how agents just go poach players, get them, talk about them in the club, talk about the money they want. So RMs are those kind of people. You know, they go out in the market, look for corporate companies, tell them, oh, we can grant you loan if you come and register with us. We just need to know about your business, put some of your properties, your collateral, do that and all that. Collateral being that that's that property you put in place in order to get a huge amount of loan. So if you have a collateral for maybe like 5 million, you can get a loan as much as 10 to 15 million. So far you pay within a certain period of time with a certain amount of profit. That's really how most banks make their own money. So RMs are like those agents that go about doing all these things. Now, when so we wanted to like remove that flow and make it easy because what they do is when they get this information, they now come to the bank, go to different departments, they'll go to the credit team, they'll go to the legal team, they'll go to these teams. They were like, wow, before you even get back and the person has taken loan, person business self might even have forgotten about what you wanted to take the loan for. So we're like, oh, this process is too long. Let's have a platform whereby people can onboard and load every data about their customer. Now we know that many corporate people might not be able to load, so we still maintain the use of the RM. So we're not taking job from the RMs. It's okay. RMs can load on behalf of the customer. So all an RM can do is log in into his database, choose the customer, and upload everything direct. Already they have their data. So each department in our own sector will just log into and look at any data and approve, oh, they've seen this one and see this one. Once that is done, that person can take any required loan he wants to do. So you can see there has to be like a kind of a history, something that led to this project. So most of you that will be doing your mobile banking application, you need to look at, oh, what are those things that all these banks have that usually make people use the app? You can say, oh, that's one. What will make our own special? What will make people use our app? It's not just about the aesthetics. What are those functionalities we'll put? If someone wants to take a transfer, how fast is it to take that transfer? Like, what's the user flow like? What's the journey like? For those that are doing e-commerce application, you're like, oh, what will make people enjoy using our platform? What are those things maybe e-commerce like Jumia and Konga are lacking? You have to go and check that. For me, I don't like the fact that Konga I can't check reviews on Konga and stuff like that. I don't feel it. On Jumia, I'll see reviews. But the thing is that Konga delivers faster. I don't know if you've noticed. Jumia take longer time depending on your location. If you're on the island, everybody's fast. But if you are in the other lands, like all that, so you need to do all this this thing. So if you are the lowlands, you'll be like, oh, it takes longer time. Because I stay in Ikorodu, I stay on the island. When I order on the island, the stuff comes almost the next day. Both Jumia and Komba, they're quite fast. But when I order from Ikorodu, Jumia can take to the end of the day, but Konga must make sure they bring it within 4 days. So that's experiences. You need to factor all these things that will now help you highlight your goals and outcomes. Now, when you have your goals, you have your outcomes are what your business people will get out of the project, and what the users to be able to do. Now, always know that there are two types of outcome. There's a business outcome and there's a user outcome. I'll come to that in later lectures. The business outcome is what the business will get. For example, let me take a look at the let's take a look at the project we're looking at. Okay, the grid. Okay, don't worry, I'll remove that. So now this is the business outcome, as you can see when we review the document. So what does the business want? They want people to be able to get clean data from customers and improve customer acquisition. They want to be able to request loans, view loans, and guarantors custom. But this is what the users will be able to do. Add family and friends to your community. That has to do with getting clean data from them. View and manage your community, select loan amount and tenure, input reason for loan, check loan summary, consent agreement, send this in. You can see it's separate. The users will have to do more because for them to be able to do this. Now, all this they are going to do all falls under within these four business outcomes. So it was from these business outcomes we were able to draft the that. We also had questions. So these are some of the questions you can always throw back when you're having that meetings.
That's all.
All right. Sorry. Can everyone confirm if you can hear me now, please? I had a little network issue I had to work on. Okay, thank you very much. Can Guy get a reminder on where I stopped on when the line broke off because I didn't realize it immediately. So, what was the last information you could get for me? Okay, user outcomes. All right. So, oh wow, oh wow. Okay, let's just go through it one more time. Yeah, let me share my screen now. Types of outcomes. Okay, that's fine. Confirm if you can see my screen. Okay, user outcome. So yeah, um, it was here we're talking about user outcomes. I don't know how far back we talked about it. So, like I said, user outcomes are derived directly from the business, and as you can see here, we were talking about what we want, what we business. So we looked at when the business side defined what they wanted, we could actually draft out. So we said, okay, for this to be done, we need our customers to be able to log on, create their own community, that's view and manage community, set a loan amount and tenure, input the reason for their loan, check their loan summary page, have a consent agreement, send the guarantor's request because it's not everybody that want to like consent. So we need to know the people that want to like assist you at that point in time, agree to our terms and conditions. We need to authorize pending loans. So why we did this feature was because you might send a request for to like 20 people and only 50 people might or 12 people could actually cause so we also made it in such a way that you can also approve that loan and get that certain loan amount. If you are not um patient enough to wait for the orders, you could just approve it there rather than start the process again. Can view your guarantor's history. That means to know whether you're standing as a guarantor, receive notifications on due dates and guarantors requests, view loan status, and accept and reject guarantors requests. So, and like I said, when you're drafting out your user outcomes, you should also have questions. So we start with the business team, even after reading the BRD, or even when you're having your meeting with your stakeholder and you're trying to the proposal stage, you could look at the situation and say, okay, we asked how can we fund their accounts to stand in as a guarantor for more than one person. So this question, why we asked this question was we knew that 10K was like automatically attached to each account. But if I wanted to have like 30K, someone said you can't see my screen. Um, Confirm please again if you can see my screen. Okay, I think Naji might need to log out and log in again or run that. All right. Moving on now, since most people can confirm might be a network issue. So, like I said, when we found out that okay, 10K is what you need to be tied to that person's account, we needed to know okay, can one person come in and put multiple accounts? You are yet to get a feedback from them. So they will go back to brainstorm. So if you were with a stakeholder and you ask this question, he will have to think. He might not be able to give you an answer immediately. He might have to think in what best approach could be used. He could also ask you and say, okay, what do you think? And at that point in time, you have to use like maybe knowledge in various apps, or maybe you go for the minimum viable product style, or you look for something simple to say, okay, let's go with this. Maybe over time we can see whether we can upgrade to this. The second question we came up is, can a user make a loan request while still acting as a guarantor? They gave us an easy feedback. Then they said, no, once you are standing as a guarantor, you shouldn't make your own request, because why? The 10K that you're standing as a guarantor is already locked. So for you to make a loan request, there will be other come. So they said no on that regard, and we took our stuff then. Now that led us to okay, I think I was sharing something. Let me go back to what I was sharing. So that let's see. So yeah, expected goals and outcomes. So when you have those stuffs in place, you can now look about your proposed deliverables, and I these are certain things you need to let your stakeholders know that you'll be taking part, so that they could understand the scope of the project or what might be inclined to do during your project. And you can see these are some of the things you have to specify them, or they will not understand. So you have to specify the research method you will use, and in some cases, you might not need to use all the research method. You might need two, you might need three, depending on the kind of project you're doing. Now, research method comes in the place whereby if you're using, most times if you're working on a new project, something new, maybe a grand project, you might need to use one or two research methods. You say, okay, we need to ask some users some questions, we need to do some online survey, we need to do this thing. So, and there are various types of research method. There, yeah, you do that in the research stage. There's interviews, online survey, competitive analysis, focus groups, card sorting, lots of research methods to use. So you need to know the one that will be your best approach. Then you need to talk about your personas. Now, personas help you narrow down who you are building for, and your stakeholders need to see you. You need to see the same kind of personas. For example, when you look at our persona here, we looked at people that would be in this state to take loans. So we had one year, John Alabi, 24 years old, that stays in Ikorodu, is a bank graduate trainee. And John Alabi earns 100K per month. And he needs 300K by next week to pay his rent. And we looked at the situation, and someone like John, someone's mic is on. Okay. So we looked at the situation. Someone like John, you know how housing is very difficult in Lagos. Landlords are not lenient, they are very strict. And if he had to use his money, it would take him 3 months. And that's him using his money 3 months without spending a dime on himself. And you know that's very difficult for any average Nigerian. He needs to go to work. Sure. Or they say connection is breaking. Please confirm again. I'm saying it's not. Okay. Okay. That's very good. Um, so I saw a question. Yeah, you will learn about research method later. This is just an overview. So literally everything you are saying here, you will learn about them. It's part of the training. You will learn about user flow. So like I said, it's just to see an overview on how. So we're looking at what you need to do, and we're looking at how you can do it. So it's just like an overview. So just take this as a summary of a user a UX process. So like I said, this is not okay. Nanji, I need you to give me your mic and explain further. I don't understand about this software. It doesn't rhyme with your words and it's kind of confusing. Nanji, can someone unlock Nanji's mic? Let me see if I can find him. Oh, there's a subtitle. Okay, I didn't know. Okay. All right, that's new to me. Sorry about that, Inaji. Okay. All right, let me go on. I thought it had to do with my explanation. Okay. Sorry. I'm Nigerian, so I don't know. Naija, I'll try and maybe use simpler words if it's not working out well. And sorry about the inconvenience. So moving on, like I said, Debola Martins is our next persona. So your persona should not be more than three. Most times one is enough, all right, too. But sometimes you have to have like some like enforced, it helps you know. So we talked about Debola Martins is a business owner, earns 150 while running his own separate business. He needs 400K to maybe receive some goods and buy some goods. But um and he doesn't want to take loans from other platforms because they are insisting that he drops a collateral. He doesn't feel that he needs to be um he doesn't want to be constrained that way. So there's reasons to have these personas because you it helps streamline who you are building for. Because if you go into these interviews without defining your personas, you would go through many things. And most times the business guys don't really know who they are building for. So you need to streamline it, like who is our target market and all that stuff like that. So you would need to like streamline that. They can come today and say, oh, they want to build, or I remember banking app we're working on before, and what they wanted was they wanted to build a banking app for Gen Z. But when I asked them who are these people, like personas, they were saying, "Oh, we want old people. We want to capture everybody." I said, "No, that this app is be specified." So what they were have on a document and what they were saying was not this. So we had to define the personas properly in order to do that. So you will also be able to capture your UX requirements. We'll talk that further in the stage, ideation, wireframing. So these are the things you might list down to let the stakeholder know that these are my deliverables. These are what I will give you. So and so when you move on to other times, so there are stuff that have assumptions. So assumptions is nothing serious. It's just there are cases whereby things that you did not plan for can come up and they might affect timeline and deliverables. For example, maybe in the testing phase, you let them know that okay, since it's a new product, we'll need to run various number of tests. We need to run some usability tests. We need to run some A/B testing. We need to get insights from those tests, and it might make us reiterate the product, or we might just move with the product. So why you need to let them know beforehand is because if you get to that stage and you've run it the standard way, but your testing gave you different results, you know, to start telling the stakeholder that we will need 1 month to, he's already annoyed because he needs a product. So you would need to like let them know of certain things at that point in time that might come up, and so that it will reduce risks. And after that, you can talk about your timeline and budget. Like I said, this one is for mostly freelancers and people that would be running their own private design businesses. So you will need to talk about timeline and budget. In the case of those that already have companies working for, you will talk about timeline mostly. So, but for those, you talk about timeline and budget. And a lot of people have problems with how they price. So you are valuable. You need to check the market standard in some areas. There's not really a fixed price for, choosing how much you do. So you need to ask questions. You might do a little bit of research on the pricing. Always know that before going into your stakeholder meeting. So before your stakeholder meeting, you must have an idea what you're trying to build. So you can use that first call you might have to just know about it. Then a lot of time they want to know the pricing immediately. No, you tell them you need to scope the project a bit if you need to. Go and ask around. Always make sure you have your profits in place. You are not a slave to the market, and you're already a working class person, a professional. So always make sure there's enough profit margin for you when negotiating your price. So I can't really say for a mobile banking app, I say, oh, I'll collect 500. Some people collect 500K, some people collect 1 million, some people collect 2 million, and they'll justify what they did for that. So, but you have to look back at what you have and what you're going to deliver and scale your prices. So if it means maybe there's a project you will spend more running your interviews, delivering online surveys, because when you're doing interviews, most times we don't do interviews the right way. Interviews need to be budgeted. Like you need to carry Bluetooth for your target audience. Book a session with them. Sometimes they might not be willing to book because users are hard to come by. So you might need to book a session. So you say, okay, Blake, for maybe 2K, can you come and run this, sit down with me and have a discussion and all that? I just want to know about certain things. Yes, money is being spent during the research stage. So if you need to budget for that, you add that to your budget. But if you feel maybe an online survey, which might be cheaper, but even that, you can budget for that as well. So that's what I'm saying. You have to look at where you spend your money and let the stakeholder know. If not, you might find yourself into trouble. So yeah, I said, oh, this part of this money will be used for this for this, used for this, used for this. You can break it down for him, and he can be the one to say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Do this, don't do that. Do this, don't do that, and you will just like cop out the price and this thing. Now this helps you because you sound more professional. You sound more this thing. He's able to give you the product. I had a product like that where we're building a social app. And from the first interview, when I delivered my proposals and everything, the reason why the client was inclined to pay, despite me asking for more money than the others, was because he said he likes the proposal, he likes the breakdown that I was able to give him. He likes how I've broken down the project. Like when he's talking to the other designers, he could sense their inexperience. And when they now call the money, so being cheap does not even help you. So when he asked for money, I called a reasonable amount. I'm not going to disclose that. So why he said it was like the others called cheap and he felt that no, the project requires more. So keep in mind that your stakeholders or clients will do their research. Some of them will do their research. They are not novice to the industry and have an estimate of what it will cost them. And if you are falling short, that might be an issue. Um, so far, let's take questions. If you have any questions, let me go through them. Um, I'm still seeing network issues here. Is it just me? Because it's going well on my end. My network is green. Okay. Okay. All right. For those of you that are having network issues, maybe you should try staying in a place that is good. It's green for most people. So, okay. If it's a redesign for a platform, okay, I'm seeing one question there. Yeah. So redesign. So we talked about new pro redesign. You need to look at what has been designed. Because sometimes when they tell you it's a redesign, it might not be a redesign. No. The redesign might be nonsense at first, and you might have to like run it. So you say, okay, let me see what you have first. What have you done? So that's when you now put your outcome. So you need to look at, you can go back to your outcomes and say, oh, this was what you wanted to do. This is what you did. This flow is not working. So this flow is working. So you need to scope out the redesign first. Some redesign might be a complete overhaul. And when you're doing a complete overhaul, that's almost like a new product. So you cannot charge him for redesign. You might need to charge him from new. But if it's a redesign where a couple of features are not working, you can look at, so what you do is you can separate your outcomes. Like for instance, let's say this was a product now and these were the user outcomes. Let's use this case study as an example. And they said, oh, we do not like how they manage their community, like we don't like the way the flow goes. So if I look at this outcome, I can say, okay, so the loan amount and tenure, requesting for loan and guarantor's consent is fine. You say, okay, yes, it's fine, we'll leave that one, we don't need to resign this thing. So it means my modification has been streamlined to this place. I don't know if you get me. So it reduces your work. You will now be able to scope it and be like, okay, for this, maybe we need to run some interviews to know why managing the community is not good. So you need to look at the pain points. Why is this community not working fine? You need to ask some people that might have been using it, and what are the problems you're having using this community? Is there anything you would have wished we could do in the management area of this community? You start looking for those parts. So that might need you to run interviews, that might lead you to run online surveys. That might lead you to run contextual inquiry. That's observing the users manage their community and study whether there's issues. So you have to go back to your user outcomes when you're trying to run something like a redesign. Let me look for another question. I don't know if that helps you, but that would need to do that. Okay, let me look at this. Do you go through all the products for all your processes? Not exactly. They are standards. So these processes are not like routines. They are guidelines to assist you doing your products. So you can come to a place and they have, you can even join a project and they built everything. They have wireframes already. What they want you to do is to convert the wireframes to high fidelity. At that point in time, you don't need to do research. At that point in time, you don't need to do, you just go straight. So it's based on the problem. That's why I said you must always define the goal. It's the goal that will help you know what you're coming in to do. And okay, I'm trying to separate the questions from the issues we're having. I think there's one. Um, Let me see. Chill. So I'm taking questions now. For any the person for Oluwa Shegun, give me a thumbs up if you understand the redesign process or you need more clarity. For anyone I'm tackling their question, I'll need a thumbs up to know whether it's clear or they need to ask more questions. Then put the questions down. I will get to it. Okay. You will have to talk about these recordings with management. Okay, going through the process, like I explained, not really. You have to look at the goal and see what you need to define the outcomes as well. Okay, I'm trying to like really find the questions. Okay, the field think and sections work. Are these emotions? This is has to do with empathy mapping. Too, you will talk more about that in the research phase. I think we should be focused on what we want. What will be the research page for adding a feature to an existing online educational platform? Ah, so it's an online educational platform. Like this is not user research, so I will leave that to when we begin. I'm currently working on a project, and the PM reached out to us regarding coming up with an assumption on my case study. So, is it me just coming up with the assumption, or do I have to do that with the stakeholders? So, for you, you need to have more discussions with your PM. So, I don't expect PM to just come up with an assumption. So, we need to talk. That's what I say. So, you need to have an interview with your PM. So, I need to understand. So, if you can't reach the stakeholder, your PM is supposed to be the bridge between you and your stakeholder. So you have to like have virtual meetings to know what is the outcome. So you need to know the business outcome. Your PM cannot just come and say, so like I need to know what's our goal. I need to see the idea. So he needs to come through you through a business point of view. Then he needs to tell you what the users should be able to do. So that's between you and your users. And you both of you could go through the user outcomes together because at times the PM might not get a comprehensive clarity on the user outcome. He might understand the business more. So when he's explaining some business terms, you should be able to draft out your users outcomes from it. How do we conduct interview? Well, it's simple. You have to book a session. You have to so I think that's even part of the research, but you have to book a session, talk about so you must ask open questions. Open questions means you don't leave the person clueless. Does user outcome come before user research or thereafter? Well, you have to define your outcomes before you go into research. So you need to know. No, no, no. I think they work both ways actually. So in some cases, they might define their outcomes, but when you do your research, you require that there are more outcomes. And yeah, you have to know. So it's more about knowing the business outcome first. You can do your research before and after. So it actually they intertwine depending on the informations you have now. So sometimes you can have informations and you can work with them and you can, proceed and drive to user outcomes. Like for us in the bank, sometimes when we have the information, we can draw out some user outcomes. But sometimes we can do some research again and draw out more outcomes. Well, okay, let me give you an example. So, yeah, I'll talk about the empathy map later on. And let me reload this page. This page kind of didn't load well. And this storyboarding, this is different processes. So let me look at something that required us to add. Uh, Uh, Let me look at one. Okay, I think it's not here. I have to look for another project. Required us to have more stuffs. Okay, I think this is one. So there was a time they had like some reasons. So the bank specified the reasons for us: education, health, starting a new business. So we looked at them and
Okay.
said, what if these are not part of what the person wants to specify? What if there are needs? So we now said we'll create order so that the user can specify his reasons. So initially they've already defined the outcome that, oh, you must specify a reason I must fall under this terms. We now this why and be like, not everybody's problem falls under this. There might be more. So you need to give maybe room. So we'll now create a room for another outcome, ability to edit, to input your own personal outcome. So yeah, so like I said, UX design process is not an iteration, it's a circle. So some things might loop, some flows might have to loop between each other. So that's another mistake new designers make today. You know, they will always want to do interview, online survey, this, that, that. Sometimes you might not need that. Sometimes you might get enough data to work with. Sometimes it might be a new project. So you have to look at the project, the scope of the project, which is what we are doing this stuff. You scope a project properly, we'll be able to draw out some of these things. Let me see. Can a survey take the place of a user interview? Obviously. So now surveys and interviews are kind of like the same. Um, really. It's just that users interviews are personal. You know, you kind of like you have a one-on-one interaction with your target market. But like I said, sometimes it's more expensive and it's hard to get users these days that will find time to break out. But an online survey can just it reaches out to more, and user interviews is restricted. You cannot interview like 10, 50 people. But with online survey, you can run an online survey of even up to 100 people. So far, they are the right set. Okay, I've shared the link to the slides I'm using to teach you. Uh, oh, the links, access to the project I'm using as example. My own case study. Okay. I'll talk to management about that. I think I'll talk to management about that, sharing my case study. But you build case studies yourself. So I know there's need to look at some of the examples, but no problem. I'll get back to you on that. I can't really give an answer now. So let's move over to the next. Um, let's move over to the next slide, so that we can really talk about. And there's no difference. Like I said, this is kind of like freelancers. So what you need to do, and when you've gotten that place, this is what everyone will need to do. So capturing your UX requirements, gathering your early data, and you can see it's part of what we did in the proposal stage. But being that when you're already working for a company, there's really no proposal stage, there's business requirements. So you need to be able to map out your business analysis and all that. Now, this is just basically it. So gathering early requirements, you need to get your business outcomes and your user outcomes is literally what I've been saying all along. But like I said in the proposal stage, and you also need to talk to your technical team. So now this is the difference. Now, in some cases, when you have proposals, so you might not be inclined to work with developers. Sometimes designers, freelance designers, just work on the design and move on with life, or maybe in an organization, or even sometimes freelance designers might work with developers. It depends. So, but if you have like um a dev team around, you might need to put them during discussions so that you can say, so let me give you an example. I'm sorry, let me just open where I normally draft my case studies, and I will show you how I do my own business outcomes and user outcomes. It's kind of like something I derived on my own because the standard wasn't too flexible for me. Okay, so I'm gonna open my Figma, and this is my page. I think this is for Gazelle. No, I don't want to use Gazelle. I want to use there's an yeah, I think I want to use this small accounting. Okay, yeah, let's open this. Now getting UX requirements. This will be very, very. Oh, wait, let me chill. Let me look at one. I think I should be able to get. Okay, let me look at this. I think I'll use the one bank. I'm sure. Sorry, let me use the example we just looked into right now. I think that'll be better for so that you can see how I was able to get the requirements for that particular case study you're seeing. So yeah, this is like my mood board, and let me see whether I'm at the right place. No, this for yeah, let me see if I'm at the right place. Someone wants to ask a question. I don't know if I'm okay. For case studies and research, like I said, we'll discuss further. I just want to help you how to gather requirements. So we'll have that in another class. Let's stay a little bit focused on this one. I'm trying to like get them out. I'm trying to really draw out. Okay, I think it's here. Okay. All right. So this is how I draft my requirements. Please confirm if you can see my screen. Let me see. I know it's going to be. Let me zoom in properly. So this is one way I do it. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good. So now let's go there. Let's look at our requirements and really trash it out. So now we getting the business side. So this was one thing we did, get clean data from customers. We talked about it. There'll be a lot of typos, so forgive me for that. This is when we are brainstorming, so we really don't have time for English. We just go straight to getting what we want. So, like you can see, I put my business requirements in purple cards. So I use kind of like a mixture of card sorting so that I can really understand, and I share this with the listener. So when it comes to the user outcomes from getting data from customers and improve acquisition, this is the user outcomes. I must be able to add. So because we already have the app, which is like one bank application, so we're like, okay, since we already have the app, there's no need for onboard and all that. Like they've already onboarded, so it's just to use this particular feature. So one user outcome is to add family and friends, and the other one is to view and manage community. So you can see how we like use this, we draw these user outcomes from this. So this is how you can get your requirements. So the second one was they want to be able to request for loans. So we now said, okay, what would the user able to do? So this is how to really, this is a template for drafting out your requirements. You say, okay, the business want to achieve this. So for the business to achieve this, the user needs to do this to do that. So in this case, for the business to get clean data from customers and improve customer acquisition, the user have to be able to add family and friends. And these family and friends need to have a tier 3 account. And the user should be able to manage that community. So while the user is managing that community, the business is getting customer data, reliable, clean data, while the users are managing it. I hope you can see the relationship between the two. Now, look at this. For the business to access loan requests, so let's just change this to access loan requests so that it looks more um for business to access loan requests, the customer needs to be able to set loan amount and tenure, input the reasons for the loan, check the loan summary, give his consent, submit the request and agree to terms and conditions, authorize pending loans, view his guarantors table. Now, this view his guarantors table is important because if the user, if I take you to the design here, let me take you here. If you notice here, there's a box. Okay, this picture, his guarantors box is not active, so he can take a loan. There's another image we have. Yeah, if you notice here, his guarantors box is active, so he can't take a loan because he's already standing in as a guarantor for Bank M Moses. and Banker Moses is paying in some period of time, so he can't take loan. So that was why we needed that information there. So that's one way. So you need to be able to draw out these outcomes from this business request. They need to be able to access loan request. So you need to be able to do this. I don't know if there are any further questions. Let me see if I don't know if this meeting I think it should be recorded. And I'm sorry about your network. Yeah, I'm really sorry about for most of you that are unable to continue. I feel there should be a recorded meeting, and they will get back to you. Management will get back to you. Sorry about that. Okay, so now drawing out your requirements. Let's go back to that. For those of those that are following, and please, if you have any questions, don't don't wait. Just leave it there. I will occasionally come by to check those questions. So the business also said we want our customers to be able to view their loan status. So literally, this should just be loan status actually. And for that, the customer needs to be notified when his account has been funded, and he also needs to be notified the date it will be debited, like when he pays back his loan. At the same time, he should be able to view his loan status. So this is this is another business request, the guarantor's consent. So for us to initiate the guarantor's consent, the customer should be able to receive notification from borrower's request. That means you see notifications from anybody in your community. Then you should be able to accept or reject his borrower's request, and he should also have access to his guarantor's listing. Now, when we do that, we define our user outcomes right now. And moving on to that, we now look at the user. So as you can see, most of the time, many a times it's going to be customer, but when it comes to accept and seeing this thing, it becomes a guarantor. So this is what a guarantor is likely to face. So this helps your user journey. Then as you can see, after that, we define the features. So we can use an add button, we can use a list, we can use a drop down form, and we can put like extra information of what we want to do. We can use a card display, we can use a modal, we can use a checkbox. So this helps you to also create your design system. Design system will discuss further in UI. So for those of you in the UI class, they talk about design system. This notification card, card message, prompt button, history list will help you guide you in that manner. So let's go back to our slide because we've really talked about everything we're doing here. So like I said, business requirements, you can see user requirements. So even while we get the user requirements, we normally engage the tech team and tell them, okay, we want to use a notification bar for this. So the tech team will have an idea that, oh, they'll need to create like a notification panel where we'll be seeing a notification bar where they can be seeing updates of notifications. So carrying the tech team along will also help you in speeding up your deliverables. So add button. So the tech team too will have an idea of how the process, the product will come to life, literally. Now, moving on, let's look at this thing. I think we've talked about conducting stakeholder interviews and they come pretty much in time. So when we draw our user outcomes, sometimes you might want to go back to have further interviews with your stakeholders. So you need to conduct stakeholders interviews. Like for those of you asking whether since you have a PM, your PM is standing in as a stakeholder. So he's the one talking to the stakeholder. You need to have various meetings. Never start a project without understanding the full scope of your project. You need to go deep to really understand it, and you need to be able to see, like, you are a designer, so part of the thing is you have to be able to visualize the solution and understand how impactful the solution would be to the markets. Now, documents documenting is a very key feature in your requirements. Like if you see here, let me just go through this place. Let me look at one moment please. So as you can see here, we've these things are part of our documents. When we drafted this out and some of the outcomes, we had to look at where it will be affected. So we also talked about our personas. I believe I've explained this. This was when we derived our personas. And like I said, there are this was when we were brainstorming with the team and trying to break things down. So there are various things that will be required. So let me just go through a few things that might be in your documents. So someone asked for me to explain this empathy map, and yeah, it's going to be discussed more in your research stage, but this helps you. So if sorry, what was that? Okay, Olayinka, I think the guarantor's contest is key now because I get all the sort of messages from different contacts telling me a certain person collected money. Okay. Okay, I get you. So you can see we are solving a problem right now with the guarantor's consent. You know, you just wake up one morning and find this person put you as a guarantor. And, I get you. It can be so annoying. I'm glad I've not received some messages, but I get that feedback a lot from people. So now let's go to our empathy map. And someone asked how we went about this. So we've already established our personal journal AB and stuff like that. So to really make it more engaging and really tell the stakeholder how we are solving the problem, we can say, okay, this is what he's thinking. My rent is due. I need to pay up. It's the beginning of the year. I don't want to stress my friends. I just paid for a course. I really don't have much to go on. He's tight. That's what he's thinking. He feels confused. He feels stressed. He feels tensed. So, and one of the things he needs to do is so what he says is I need money to pay my rent. That's his main problem. So what does he do? He reaches out to his closest friend and he introduces him to one bank, family, and friends. Now, this is a storyboarding phase where we illustrated how he goes about it. And yeah, storyboarding really speaks more to your stakeholders that they will understand the kind of situation that could go in. And here's his friend, he shares the problems with his friend. Liz refers him to one bank app and use the family and friends service to take loan and said with 30, if you get 30 of our powers, we could support you without any constraints. So it doesn't take anything from even the people standing in as guarantors because they already have like 10K already. It just needs that you need to pay up so that they too can use the application. So this is part of the documenting we normally do. So when we do that, we have like our storyboards to let our users know that our stakeholders and everyone understand that these are some of the issues we might solve. It gives more clarity to the problem. Now, this is Debola Martins, 35-year-old business owner, and needs 400K to set up his business and doesn't want to take loan. Right now, he's thinking, I think I should do a research and check for any no platform that is willing to give me a loan without involving collateral packages. He's also feeling stressed, confused. He searched the web for loan packages. He says, I need money to set up my stuff. Now, we looked at the storyboard, and this is him searching through various loan applications and he has reached out to 10 of his 5 of his friends and they could not. But he comes through an ad and he talks about one bank. So this was when we shared this info with the marketing team to let us put ads out there and let people know about one bank, family, and friends. So this also helps your interaction with other departments. So we say, okay, they can figure out through an ad. Then he sees it and be like, Debola checks the entire account to answer. He's excited and tells his friends about it. Guys, I found an exciting loan package. Great, tell us about it. And he embeds his family and friends into it. Some of the requirements you also need to have is your site map so that your stakeholders and everyone could know, oh, this is part of the things that will be in our applications. We would have to know what each button is. I keep hearing someone trying to ask our questions, but I see. So your credit line tells you how much you have and whether you're still them. Your family and friends manager to add and delete family and friends. Your loan to request for loans and your guarantors boss management. And these are some of the sketches we do. So occasionally I sketch so sketching is also a good feature to have, especially in the drafting out your this thing. You could actually sketch some of the things. So this is just part of the documents we do in getting. So as you progress, you'll be able to document some of these things. Um, Josephine is having issues. Did you join the network or slow? Okay, what is your pain point, Josephine? Did you start with the class? Okay. questions can be taken now. I would like to take questions before, so that I really can we can go back and review certain things in coming up with your requirements. So it really just means gathering your business, using your business data to get your user data, your user outcomes, and being able to define your users, defining the goal of your project, and using that to derive the features that you likely build. You will know the research method you will need to do and other stuffs like that. So I would need any questions so far. If you have questions, please let me know. Um, I'll take questions for the next few minutes. No, it's not necessary that. So you will high fidelity. Must every skin you want to design for an app have an eye? So it's based on you. I would encourage you to do your products in high fidelity, but I think what you wanted to ask was wireframe. I don't know if it's high fidelity you meant, because that's what your stakeholders will see. Stakeholders don't usually like wireframe. Wireframe is mostly for PMs and this thing. Some people like wireframes, but I'm saying working in Nigeria can be very funny and different. So it depends. Some people like to see the final product, and so okay, the project brief you come. So yeah, the project brief you got has already defined the outcomes for you. So now, now that's another thing. Never see a project as an iteration that you must do this or do that. Now, I went through the project brief for the e-commerce. They've defined your outcomes for you. So you might not really need. So I said the first one was if you have like if you're a freelancer. So many a times some of the stuffs we just defined now might be done by your PM depending on the organization. But sometimes there might not be a PM. You might need to interface, especially if you are joining a startup. You might need to play that role. So you need to know how to do these things. And that's why. So if you check PM responsibilities, they kind of intertwine or they kind of exchange between product designers. So your I went through your brief. I think I've seen the one for the e-commerce. It clearly defines, it actually has a business outcome. They didn't just write business outcome. So when they talk about what the business is trying to achieve, that's the business outcome. You have to be able to map it now. If I could get the documents um that the business team sent me, it won't be defined the way I defined it. So it's you need to find a way to draw out your business outcome. What do you hope to achieve? That's a way of of analyzing it. Now, from there, you'll be able to draw out your user, and they've already defined some of your user outcomes, so that shouldn't be a problem moving on with your project. So your project has helped you cut some journeys, but you can do that. So that you can do that. You can try and drive your business outcome. It helps give more clarities to some of the features you want to build. Now, someone asked, is the sitemap the same as the information architecture? Yeah, you kind of need the information architecture in order to build your sitemap. Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. I've noticed some user flows and some don't have. Some have user flows and some don't have sitemaps. Yeah, so depending on your project, if you notice my own project, I had a sitemap at the same time. I had some user flows, but I didn't post my user flows. So not everything is being documented, but let's say it depends on the kind of project you are building. Again, that I would say, because if we were building a content management system, you might work more with sitemaps. The content management, you have to do content, something like leader IKG. This is categories, this is where we put stuffs, this is where you carry. Because basically, on a content management system, you will just need to read articles, share articles. That's the few things you can do: share, like, comments. So the tasks are already clear. But if you're building a dashboard, a sitemap and a task flow will be very important, because you need to put things where they need to be placed, which is like your information architecture. Then you need to specify. So I want to be able to onboard this thing. Let me give you an example. Let me see. I think there was one we worked in. So there's this other project inside this project. This is a very huge project. So the project get many branches. So here was where we defined our user. Oh shit, my app is hanging. Okay, no, it's not. So this is an SME application, and we needed to define a lot of things. The project is still ongoing. So after coming up with the user outcomes, and we noticed that a lot of the outcomes here are tax based. Sorry, I don't know why my app keeps hanging. So a lot of the outcomes here are tax based. As you can see here, these are architecture for it, or in nether close we call it site maps. Um, so these are some of the flows we defined. So we defined some of the user outcomes. Now, because most of the user outcomes are tax based, we actually created different tax flows for each of them. As you can see them, you will learn some of this moving forward um, in your other classes to come. So this is the ad purchase. You can see we have a flow for the ad purchase, for ad sales, return purchase, return sales, payback payables, payback receivables, check profit and loss view. So you can see we have different tax flows for all of them. So these are what we call tax flows or user flows. And as you can see, they have size. So some projects is always um, some projects might require both. Some projects might require one. Some projects might um, so let me look at this. More questions are coming in. Let me see. For a landing page or website design pages, what's the process, especially in increasing user conversion? So at this point in time, um, at this point in time, for a landing page or this thing, so when you're looking at this kind of project, you need to define your type of project. That's why I said the goal is very important. You want to improve user conversion and stuff, so you need to get what data. So you that's why I said the research would actually direct you on where your research method would direct. So you might need to do a review, look at what the users might be inclined to. For example, let's say it's an e-commerce platform. Now let's look at those doing the e-commerce platform. You want people to like really increase the user conversion rate and all that stuff like that. You should ask them, okay, so where are we lacking? You need to look at what's making us not do. Is it the search bar? Is the search bar? Do people not see the search bar? Why do we need to put suggestions? Do we need to look at the type of users we have? So if you notice most of your page, you need to maybe you can say maybe if someone logs in and you notice that a particular user buys electronics, you can you can have a place where you call a suggestion box whereby it draws categories. Then when he enters that site, because he likes buying electronics, I'm sure some e-commerce site do, they'll just recommend, they'll put it on that recommendation. You can see that's what improves engagement. You should also have, maybe you can say you want to run maybe a promo, a platform, those things. So you need to know your users. So this user conversion and stuff, you need to know your users, which is why you do a lot of research. Oh, the links. Well, I've dropped the link for the documents, and for the other ones, those are like some side projects. I think moving on, we'll be able to define some of the projects you're able to do. Maybe I'll come up with a template for you. I'll get back to you on some of my processes and how to handle them. I will drop a link to this particular case study for those of you that want to review, and I'll send that to you. I think I can just drop that here. Okay. So you have access to the case study. I think the case study you can have access to that. So sorry, as UX designers covering UX processes. Okay, okay, okay. Mm. One moment, please. So considering the flow, as you go on in class, you'll be able to share the flow. For most of you, you'll be able to derive some of the things. You will learn some of the flows. So I'm coming. Let me go through more projects. I'm really trying to really see which one to take. Is there a difference between user flow and IA? I think the similarity is between I think the similarity is more or less between user flow is the same thing as task flow. IA is quietly closer to sitemaps. I think that's where you'll be looking at, and that will be discussed further. Sitemap, user flow, and information architecture. So yeah, sitemaps and information architecture are kind of like the same thing, and user flow is kind of like similar to task flows. So yeah, they are kind of the same thing. They just use like different naming terms. Of course, changes will always be made. That's why I said it's not an iteration. It's more of like a circle. So sometimes, like even right now, we change a lot of things. So we'll need to iterate and go back, adjust the user outcomes. That's why you have your user outcome specified. So that at the beginning, a stakeholder will not say, oh, this is what I wanted. This is what I was expecting. You say, no, we define this here. So if we are changing it, we can change this later on. Yeah, the product goal will also affect the features that you need to have on moving forward. All right. So I think that's that for now. I think that's all the questions I can take for now. I hope this class was impactful. When we go into user research and thereafter, we'll be able to move forward and get more insights. And we're able to break down some of these flows and why we use certain research and there breaking down. And for I don't see any further questions. I think I've taken most of the questions that I can take. I hope this class was impactful. Can change it. Okay, I think I've answered this. I think I've answered most of this. Okay. I've answered most of this. All right. So you you have to All right. Hello. If the client is changing the initial scope of the project after working on a project for 60%, are we charging extra? So that's part of your proposal. You should be able to put that. So sorry for this thing. My network is, I don't know why it's glitching. Okay, sorry about that. So if the client is changing the initial scope of the project after working on 60%, so that's part of the proposals you put. So that's the assumption. If you assume this client will change things, you'll be like, further changes to this project after 50% has been worked on will require extra charges based on the change that is needed to be made. So you must specify it. If you don't specify it in your proposal, you are whatever you get, you take it like that. Yeah, my network went bad. Very, very bad. I don't even know why it's I had to switch locations. And okay, sorry, what was the last thing you heard me? What was the last thing you heard from me before you went back? So I could just take this one out and clear it. Oh no, I'm not using glue. I pray say I use glue. Actually very reliable. You're having a break. But I'm using glue, won't get this far now. Okay. I think Ademola says glue is the best, so you should take it out on Ademola. Probably using glue. And maybe that's why his network is clean. All right. So moving on, I'll just give my final remarks. Like I said, I will just say I wish you guys all the best moving forward in this course. You guys have taken the right steps. And what I will say is I know you hear a lot of things about product design. They'll tell you it's saturated, they'll tell you it's competitive. And I would say yes, it's actually saturated and it's competitive. But I also like to say that it's a space that still has a lot of vacuums. It's huge, so there's space for everybody. So nobody should discourage you into entering product design. Nobody should tell you, oh, that place is too competitive. If you know this is what you want to do, you go into it, get better, be the best. And another thing, good habit you should have as a product designer is you should be able to take critics very well and use that critics to build yourself. So even while working on projects, if they're telling you it's bad, is user is not good and all that, you would just look at your critics and say, do I need to work on it? Always improve yourself. Self improvement is always the way forward. Yeah, I've taken a look about the mobile banking project given to you, and for my contact, I think it's on the page, Design Pal. I think you can get that on the website. I think management will share that with you. So you can get my contacts and most of my handles and stuff like that. I think the better side of UX will come from LinkedIn. Twitter can be mostly bands and football, but occasionally I'll drop some content. Yeah, I've taken a look about the mobile banking applications. Yeah, I think it's more like I said, they have your user outcomes defined on them. So they've done part of the job. So that's what happens when you have some organized like briefing and all that. You might not need to do that. So while we did the proposal stages, I don't want you going into the market thinking you have it all. Then when you meet your stakeholders, you're not asking for BROD and FRD, and you would not be able to manage this and you feel you didn't gain enough from this. So you should know how to do some of these things to give you, and it will also add to the value as a product designer yourself. So you would be able to handle different cases and scenarios. If you're working on your own, you know how to handle it. If you're taking on a project with a certain group of people, you know how to handle it. Side gig, you know how to handle it. Working in a corporation, you know how to handle it. So these are just different ways of managing different types of projects or scenarios that will help you out in the future. All right, I'll call it a day. I think we've had a very wonderful class today. I wish you all the best moving forward. Do have a lovely weekend.